My name is Poe, and this is my story.
Little boy, it's amazing. You don't even know your worth.
I was born somewhere in Michigan. I am the youngest of 5 kids. I sat in foster care until I was 7. I was adopted by Angela and Bill. It wasn't until I was like 8 or 9 that I found out that my dad was basically a pedophile and my mother was married to a pedophile that didn't want to accept it, so she used abuse as her way of not dealing.
And you're so beautiful.
Somebody in our family died and my mom went to the funeral. We'll say Angela. Angela went to the funeral. I stayed at home with Bill. I was sick, vomiting, had like the flu or something. He says, well, sleep in my bed because you may throw up in your sleep and choke yourself. I'm a kid. I was like, that makes perfect sense to me. I'll never forget that The Abyss was playing on television when I woke up to my adoptive father having sex with me. In the moment it sank in that he was really sitting there having sex with me. I got out of bed, ran downstairs, and I hid behind this picture, and I could hear him walking around the house looking for me, and I didn't come up until the next morning. I'm 12 and the decision to have sex for the first time wasn't mine. And about a weekend, I'm like, man, I'm gonna tell her. So I tell her, I call her in my room and I said, I gotta tell you something. And she's like, well, what? And I'm like, while you were gone, and I tell her what happened. She was like, oh no, not in my house, and walks out my room and I'm vindicated. And I'm like, yeah, take care of that, handle that. She called me into their bedroom and made me stand in front of him and asked him if he would touch something that looked like me. He laughed and he said, no, because I have you. She then made me strip in front of him. And I got the beating of my life. And when her and my father separate, her parting words to me were, I never really wanted to adopt you, and you see what he wanted to adopt you for. And she left me with him. I then became almost like a housewife at like 11, 12. When my father felt like coming in my room, he could. Meanwhile, we're going to church every Sunday, Bible study every night. And I'm like, this can't be my life. I thought adoption meant you were coming out of a horrible situation into something better, and I wasn't. Everything came to a head because, again, we were a part of this church, and I had a truth, and I was like, my father's been molesting me for years. My pastor goes, sometimes little girls get mad at their dad and they tell stories. That was probably the last day that I went to church, like faithfully. I felt some kind of way. I wasn't even asked if I was okay or how did I feel. The very first thing was that sometimes little girls get mad at their dad and make up stories. They approached my father, who admitted to what he did, and then he ran. No more seclusion, no more confusion. By the time I was like in my early teens, I'm like, yo, you done been through 4 or 5 families and nobody wants you? Nobody wants to love you or keep you? That was when I got put into my first emergency group home and realized that there were so many other young people like me who had been just discarded. I just was angry. Because every day I walked with the notion that nobody wanted me. Being in foster care is almost how I think it's like being in jail. Because you feel like being in jail or dead is probably better than how I'm living. You're beefing with another girl in your foster home because we're putting you in this group home because this is the best thing for you. But now I'm with other young people who are just as messed up as I am. We're bonding and we fighting. I ran away so much that the cops that were sent to pick me up would give me birthday cards.
Little girl, it's amazing. You don't even know your worth.
I just didn't understand why of all the people that could be going through whatever, God chose me. Did my biological mother do something in a past life that God was really not pleased with? And I was reaping all of these get back and all of this karma? Was I destined to be somebody really great that was gonna lead young, abused, abandoned, and neglected girls to just a place of positivity? And it wasn't until I started identifying exactly the things that I went through was the reason why I'm the woman that I am today. Even sometimes I'm amazed at where God has brought me from. So I thought if I share my story, if one woman has the courage to seek treatment or to speak about it, to use her story to help somebody else, then I've made God proud and I've done my job.